Welcome to a video on soft pastels, messy and magnificent at the same time. Hi friends, a few days ago I created a small artwork on white pastel paper, but unfortunately I didn't record the process. So today I'm recreating that piece on a larger sheet and walking you through it. Full disclaimer, soft pastels, not to be confused with oil pastels, have always been a love-hate medium for me, mainly because of the sheer amount of pigment dust they produce. I pulled out a soft pastel set I bought back in 2019, and somehow I never really used it much, probably for the same reason. But here I am 6 years later, giving myself a second chance with this medium, especially for short art exercises and value or color studies. For this recreation, I chose a larger toned paper from the Mungyo pastel pad in A4 size. I've enjoyed working on the different tones in this series and picked the pearl grey sheet for this one. In hindsight, a warmer cream toned sheet may have worked better, especially with the sunlight in the reference image, since I wasn't able to use the grey tone much to my advantage in this composition. I only taped the corners as I wanted to keep the borders organic. One of the things I like about pastels is how they can double up as sketching tools. The dominant hue in this artwork is grass green. I begin with the darkest green or most desaturated version of the grass green by adding deep black for the shadow parts. As with any medium, the principles of color mixing apply here too, and I try and put them to practice. To make the shadowy greens look more natural, I hence add some burnt sienna, which carries a warm red pigment. Since green and red are complementary colors, they mute one another to create natural, subdued shadows. Interestingly, I found it easier to paint the brick structure on white paper during the earlier version. The warm reds and the browns appeared richer. On the grey tone paper, burnt sienna and yellow oranges looked more muted, and the highlights were trickier to build. The artwork is inspired by a photograph that my family took during a 2019 visit to Nalanda, one of the greatest universities of the ancient world, and now an important archaeological site. The play of light with tree shadows falling on bright grass lawns and the raw brick structures in the background made for an engaging composition. For the sunlit grass, I used leaf green with a yellow bias. And for brighter highlights, I layered brilliant yellow or a true primary yellow. Now, why are soft pastels so dusty? It's all about what's inside a soft pastel stick. They're made of pure pigment, just like in paint, but held together with only a small amount of binder, typically gum arabic, which is a natural tree resin, or methyl cellulose, which is a plant-based binder, or even modern cellulose-based binders. Because there's so little binder, the pigment sits loosely on the surface, which makes them so dusty. Each stroke leaves behind not just color, but a soft trail of loose pigment that I like to call pixie dust. That's the trade-off. You get bold color payoff, beautiful blendability, and a matte finish, but also dust on your fingers, your table, your sketchbook, and sometimes in places you don't expect. In the foreground, I added bold strokes of turquoise to define the grass tones and included small flowers in magenta, light pinks, and touches of white. For the shadows in the background, I switched to a cooler deep red instead of burnt sienna and mixed it with green and black for depth. I also added a bit of purple to the yellow-orange bricks to create subtle natural contrast. As I wrap up this piece, I find myself preferring the smaller version done on white paper. The warm reds seem to pop more naturally. But I also appreciate the richer deep greens and shadows in the larger version. Friends, thanks for spending time with me and my pastel kiosk today. If you enjoy process videos like this or learning about different materials, do like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I'd love to know what medium you've had a love-hate relationship with. Until next time, keep creating, keep experimenting, and embrace the mess.